Okay, so now what you're going to do is on this portion of it here, you're going to go ahead and create an arc that goes from there, and I zoom in on this a little bit to here, and this arc we're going to bring on down past the bottom of the bottle, something like this. Doesn't have to be anything too exact, but try to make it match this outside corner. This little curve that's here, this little portion here where it's a sharp corner, we'll work on that later. Okay, so there we go. We got that looking beautiful. So now what we're going to do is it's hard to work on the bottle here with this picture in place. So we're going to go ahead and go up there and freeze that picture again. We learned how to do that earlier, so we're going to come up here, drop down to the picture, hit the little sun, and freeze it. Now from our information we got on this before, we know our bottle is 8.6 inches tall. So we're going to offset 8.6 inches down from the top of the bottle, below it to right there. Now, we're going to go ahead and extend this line longer by just grabbing my grip and trimming that off, making sure we keep that nice and square there, or parallel, I should say. All right, next, we knew the diameter of the bottle from the information we found before was 2. Okay, sorry, I had to sneeze there. So, we know from our information we found before, the diameter of the bottle is 2.8. And that would be on the thickest portion of the bottle here. So what we're going to do is, from this thickest portion of the bottle, I'm going to come over half of that. I'm going to come over the radius of 1 point, hopefully you got this by this time, 4. I'm going to go over there 1.4, I'm going to draw my line straight down. I'm going to click on it, grab the grips, and pull it straight up, much like what I just did with that line on the bottom. And now I'm going to trim this up and erase out my extra line. So I'm going to come in here and trim up my line on the top, trim up these two on the bottom, and erase out that extra line. Okay, from there, now what I want to do is, if we look at this, I've got some sharp corners out here. Depending on how you drew it, you may or may not have sharp corners. You followed my steps, you do. We need to round off those sharp corners. I just did a fillet of 1/2 of an inch. So I went F for fillet, set my radius, R, enter, 2.5, and just went through and started filleting the corners. Filleted that one, and that one, so on and so forth, all the way up the length of this bottle, and getting rid of all those sharp corners. Obviously, all the way up here at the top, we do not want to fillet this one, because that is the top of the bottle. That's what it looks like, and here, definitely not on that top. But those on the bottom, that was definitely a good thing. All right, so we got that. That's great. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and bring back my picture, because we're going to need this picture on here later. So I'm going to go ahead and bring back my picture. But now, instead of using this original drawing that I have that's on my bottle, I want to make a copy of it. So I'm going to go CO for copy, select a box around there, so I'm copying just the lines and arcs I just drew, not the picture, and make a copy of this straight below. Okay, so now that I made that copy down there, I need to region this and revolve it. So I'm going to go REG for region, select the object, region it, go ahead and put it on my conceptual view, and wait a minute, see that it didn't make a region. Okay, yours may or may not have made a region. If yours did not make a region, you have a problem with it. Somewhere you have a gap in this all the way around here, or you have some lines that stick past each other. Sometimes it takes a long time to find this problem, and so I want to show you a trick on how to solve this a little more easily. So what I do for this is, I break this down into smaller sections. So for example, I'm going to draw a line here to the end of that arc. So I'm going to draw it to the end of the arc, my end point O snap is showing up, and I'm going to draw it straight over to right there. After doing that, I'm going to trim out that line. So this should have created a region there, but I don't know which part is good here, which part my mistake's in. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line from here to here. So now if I've done everything correctly, if everything was perfect, it would create two separate regions here. But however, when I try to region this, I hope, okay, it regioned the top portion of it. So that means my error was not up there. My error is somewhere down in this section. So I'm going to go ahead and move that away a little bit from there. I've got to put this line back in here. And then I'm just going to drop down below somewhere, oh, let's say, not the midpoint, let's say right there to the end of that line, over to there. I'll do the same thing, trim it out, and again, put this line back in there. Now, once again, I'm going to go region that, and say, okay, now good, found out my error is somewhere in this section. I'm narrowing it down to there. And now I'm going to go ahead and look a little bit more closely, and I actually know where my error is because I did this earlier. There was my error. I had a little tiny gap there. The reason I show you this is there's times I've had to help people this year that their things won't region. This is the way to narrow it down instead of checking every intersection of a really complex drawing, of narrowing it down to see where your problem is. All I need to do here is fix my gap, bring that end down to there, and now I can try to region this portion. And yes, it does region. Now I just need to move this back together. I'm going to move the end of this to the end there. Move the end of this one to the end there. That's awesome, except for it's made up of 3 different unions. I now need to, or sorry, 3 separate regions. I now need to union them together. So U and I is union. And I'm going to union that all together as one. So I have one unioned object. Now I need to make this into a solid and revolve it. So I'm going to go REV for revolve. I'm going to select my object. Revolve it from the top center line of this object straight down to the bottom to there. Here, if I click, I'm not going to get a full bottle. So I don't want to click. I just want to hit enter and accept that 360. So I'm going to hit enter. And that revolves that 360 degrees around. All right. For this next thing, we now have that nice solid bottle there, looking good. Now, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and go back onto my straight on top view. Or sorry, not top view. I want to go to the straight on front view. So I'm going to go to my front view so I can look at the front of this bottle and take a look and see what it looks like. Oh, no, now wait a minute. We clicked on front, but yet we went to this view that looks at the bottom. You know what? When we started this bottle, we started it on the top view. But if I click on my top view, that's not the top of my bottle, that's the front of my bottle. So we started this totally wrong. So what we need to do is we need to fix that. Some of you had this problem already. I've shown this to some of you, but if you don't know how to do this, this is a great time to learn this. To fix this, you're going to select your views here. It's in the view that looks like the front. I'm going to select them. I'm going to go Control-C to copy them. Then I'm going to switch to the view here that's named the front and go Control-V and paste those in there. So now those are pasted in the front view, looking correct. These here that were not correct, I'm just going to erase them out. Those are gone now. Now when I look at the front, it's the front. When I want to go look at the top of it, there I click on top, I'm on the top. And whatever view I click on is where I'm going to go. I do want to be on the front view, however. So there, now this is all correct. We got that part of the drawing fixed. So what I wanted to do here in the front view is I want to see if you've created your bottle correctly. So we're going to come here to our dimensioning area. On this pull down, it defaults to linear, but I want you to go down to diameter. So click on that pull down, come down here to diameter. We're going to measure the diameter of my bottle right here. So I'm going to put there, pull out. The diameter of that bottle is 2.8. That's what I wanted it to be. So hey, I've done it correctly. If yours is 2.8, good job, you've done yours correctly. If yours varies a little bit, I'm going to be okay with it, but you still need to be within a range between 2.7 and 2.9. If you're not that close, you're too far off, and I will grade it down for that. So here we go. If you need to go back and fix it, you need to go back there and try to figure out what you did wrong to fix that. So now what we're going to do with this is, next I'm going to start on this logo. I'm going to start on the little Pepsi logo. Okay, for the little Pepsi logo, it's pretty simple. That's why I picked this one. We're going to just draw this with a circle. So we're going to start here with a circle, try to pick the center point of it about there. I know it is off center of our bottle, but that's okay. We realize that. And I'm going to draw this in there. Now, when I draw this in, I want it to where the top and bottom of the circle is the size of the white circle of the logo. On the sides, it's going to stick past. That's because this logo is a circle, but it wraps around a curved bottle, and it's kind of foreshortened a little bit there. But with this, that logo is, or that circle is correct in the height, and that's really all I'm looking for. All right, next, from there, I want you to take this circle, and I want you to make the second circle here that represents this red part of the logo and this blue part of the logo. This one's representing the white portion. To do this, we're going to use the offset command. I know we've used this before, but maybe not actually in a use. So here's another use for the offset command in a different way. I'm going to O for offset, and we're going to use the through option. I know we talked about the through option when we first learned offset, but I don't know that you needed to use it. Here's a good reason to use it. So hit T for through. So O enter, T enter. I'm going to pick the circled offset, And now notice what this through option does. As I drag my mouse, it offsets at wherever I'm going to click my mouse. This is handy for something like this, where I don't know what this measurement is. I don't know if it's 0.1, 0.2, or what. I just know I want it to be about right there. So I'm just going to drag down to there on that break of the red and the white, click, and that's beautiful. That's exactly what I wanted to be. I do realize that's kind of hard for you to see, so I'm going to change those to a yellow color. It shows up a little bit better, and there you can kind of more visually see those two circles. Next, now we're going to start drawing the other portions of this blue and red logo. This other portion of the red is really pretty simple. It is just an arc. So we're going to go A for arc. I always like to start it outside of the arc or outside of the circles out here. It makes it easier to trim it. You can get it done other ways by hitting the nearest point, but I really honestly think it's easier to just come out here. So that's what I suggest. People don't often follow my suggestions. They do it their own way and they struggle through it. So you can pick and choose what you want to do here. So I'm going to go to there, pick my second point out here, and my third point on the, again, the outside of the circle is about there. This makes it really easy for me to grab the grips and adjust this arc wherever I want to be a little bit more accurate possibly, as long as I don't snap back to the beginning. And maybe this side down here just a hair. I like that. I really think that looks very nice. Next, for the blue portion, I'm going to drag another arc. I'm going to go A for arc again. Again, I'm going to start it on the outside about here. First part of this kind of curves up, so I'm going to go here and maybe about there. Then I'm going to create another arc from there to maybe about here to about there. Now I know that's not perfect, so we're going to adjust it a little bit. So we're going to adjust this part down, adjust this down. Here, this really needs to be adjusted. Adjust this one over a little bit. Adjust this one way over. And that really has got it pretty decent. This is kind of a sharp point, so I'm going to drag that down a little bit. The main thing I'm going to be looking for here is that this transition between your two separate arcs is a nice, smooth transition. If it looks like this, that's not good. You need to make it a nice, smooth transition as I just had it. It looks like that. That's a nice, smooth transition between those two, and it really looks pretty good. I maybe make this a little bit better by pulling it down just a hair, and that looks really nice. Okay, so once again, that part's done. Again, I don't want you to work on it, besides the tracing portion of it, that's what we just did, on this bottle. I want you to work off of a copy. I always want you to keep this original here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move this straight down to there. And I'm going to go ahead and go copy once again and copy the drawing down to here. Now this is where we're going to work on the drawing. All right, here I'm going to make those three different parts of the logo. The white circle, which is going to be represented there, and I'm going to make the red and the blue section. For the red section on the top, I'm going to trim this out there and there, there and there. Now that red section's done. I'm going to trim here and here, and the blue section's done. Now all I really need to do is erase out the lines, and that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and go region, R-E-G for region. If I've done this correctly, I region create 3 regions. If you want to double check yourself, you can move the circle off to the side and see that you have 3 regions there created. All right, looks good. The next thing we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and extrude, EXT, and extrude that logo 2.5 inches. All right, if we look at this in 3D, you see, all right, there's that logo extruded 2.5. There's my bottle. I got solid bottle, solid logo, and we're going to work on putting this together. What I want to do now is I want to get this one part at a time. We're going to work on it one piece at a time. I want to get this cylinder down exactly in the position on this bottle. Now you'll see why we have this other part of the bottle here. The reason is if we go copy, I don't want to move it, I just want to copy. I want to copy that cylinder from that end of the bottle right there to the center point on the top of the bottle. That was the exact same position. Oops, I copied the wrong one. I want to undo. Let me try again. Copy from there down to there. And that copied that cylinder exactly where I wanted, exactly in position. If I didn't have these lines for layout, that'd be much more difficult. Okay.